A very pleasant morning to all my dear children. Welcome back to English Online class at Sri Gokulam Public School, Guruvayu. I hope you all are doing great and staying safe at home. Yes? Okay children, let's start our today's session. We are discussing lesson 8, tenses. We have already discussed the present tense and the past tense and also the future tense. And today we will discuss the last topic of this lesson. It is sequence of tenses. Children, now let's discuss the topic sequence of tenses. This is the last topic of our lesson, tenses. Okay. So with this we will wind up our chapter. So what do you mean by sequence of tenses? Sequence of tenses means that tenses are used in a particular order in the sentences. We cannot use tenses as we like or as we wish. There is a particular order for it. So if the sentence has more than one clause, if the sentence has 2 or 3 clauses, the tenses are used in a specific sequence, or it has a particular order for using it. Okay, we cannot use as we like. So what do you mean by a clause? I just now mentioned clause, isn't it? So what is a clause? A clause is a group of words that has a subject and also a verb. So it can also be a sentence which gives us complete meaning. For example, if I say submitted the project, is it a clause, children? No, it's not a clause. Why? Because there's no subject. I haven't mentioned about whom I am referring here, isn't it? No, I haven't mentioned any person or anything. So there is no subject for that particular group of words. So it cannot be called a clause. It becomes just a phrase. Phrase means a group of words that does not make complete sense, which is incomplete. Okay. So it's just a group of words. But if I say, I have submitted my project. Now did you get a clear idea, children? Yes, now we got a clear idea. So a sentence or a group of words that has a subject and a verb makes a clause. Okay. So here which is a subject? Here the subject is I, and which is a verb, have submitted. The words have submitted becomes the verb form, isn't it? So it is a clause. It's a group of words that has a subject and a verb. I hope you understood the difference between phrase and clause, isn't it? Now clause can be divided into two. Which are the two types of clauses? It is a main clause and the subordinate clause. For example, if I say Nisha was fast asleep, is that sentence complete or is that group of words complete, children? Yes, it's complete and it can be called a clause. Why? Because it has a subject and it also has a verb. So which is the subject? Nisha. Nisha is the subject. And which is a verb? Was. So it can be called a clause. It's a complete sentence, isn't it? Yes, it gives us a complete meaning. So that particular sentence or that particular group of words can be called main clause. So what do you mean by main clause? Main clause is that clause which can stand alone. It doesn't depend on others. Okay, it gives us a complete meaning. It has a subject and it also has a verb. So main clause can also be called as independent clause which can stand alone. And look at the next sentence. Nisha was fast asleep as she had worked the whole day. So here the sentence consists of more than one clause. It has two clauses. So which are the two clauses, children? Nisha was fast asleep. That is one clause. As she had worked the whole day. That is another part of the sentence, or that is the second clause, another clause. Okay. And that part of the sentence, as she had worked the whole day, that part of the sentence can be called as a subordinate clause or dependent clause. It has to depend on the main clause to give us a complete meaning. Otherwise, it doesn't make any sense. It doesn't have a subject or verb. So it doesn't make any sense. So that particular part of the sentence, that particular group of words is called subordinate clause or dependent clause. We, children, can be referred to as the subordinate clause or the dependent clause. Why, children? Because we have to depend on our parents, isn't it? We have to depend on our parents for our basic needs, for our food, shelter, clothing. We have to depend upon our parents. But our parents can be referred to as the main clause or independent clause because they can stand alone. They don't have to depend on us, isn't it? Yes, they can stand alone. They can make their own decisions, isn't it? So they can be referred to as a main clause or independent clause. They are matured enough and they can take care of us. They are main clause or independent clause. So I hope you understood the difference between subordinate and main clause. Isn't it, children? Okay. So children, let's see some more examples for a better understanding. Okay. For example, when we were having supper, the lights went out. So which part of the sentence can stand alone, children? It is the lights went out. The lights went out can stand alone. It doesn't need to depend on other words because we got a complete meaning. The lights went out. But if we say when we were having supper, so we understood that that sentence or that group of words is not complete. There is something more to be added to it to make it complete, isn't it? So that is called dependent clause. When we were having supper is called the dependent clause. The lights went out is the main clause. Okay. So it doesn't have to depend. It is independent clause or it is main clause. Whereas dependent or subordinate clause have to depend on the main clause to give us a complete meaning. Let's see another example. She left for Hyderabad when her work was over. So she left for Hyderabad. That is a complete part of the sentence, isn't it? She left for Hyderabad. We got the complete meaning. She left or she went to Hyderabad. And the other part, she left for Hyderabad when her work was over. When her work was over is an incomplete part of the sentence. So that is the subordinate or the dependent clause. The rest part of the sentence is the main clause or independent clause. Children, now let's see how tenses are used in a specific sequence. Okay, let's see the rules. Look into your textbook. If the tense in the main clause is in the past, then the tense in the subordinate clause will also be in the past. So if the main clause is in the past tense, the subordinate clause also should be in the past tense. We cannot change the tense in the subordinate clause. We cannot make it present or future. Okay. See the examples. Shalini had checked. Had checked. The verb or the words had checked shows the sentences in past tense because they have used had. Had is a past form. Okay. Shalini had checked all the answer scripts before she went to bed. So which part of the sentence is the main clause, children? Which group of words? It is Shalini had checked all the answer script. Okay, till that it is a main clause because that particular part of the sentence or that particular group of words can stand alone. Before she went to bed, went. The word went is the other past form or the word that shows past tense. So as we have made use of past tense in the main clause, in the subordinate clause also we have to make use of the past tense. Okay, let's see the next example. Raghav did the cooking because his mother was away. His mother was not at home. Okay, so Raghav did the cooking. We can stop till that. It makes a complete sense. That particular part of the sentence or group of words makes complete sense. So we can stop till that. So it becomes the main clause. Raghav did the cooking because his mother was away. That is not complete. It is incomplete part of the sentence. So that is the subordinate clause. And which is the tense used in this sentence? It is past tense. Because of the word did. Did shows that it is in past tense. Okay. So we have to use mother was away. Was is again a past form. Now look at the next rule. When the subordinate clause contains a universally true statement or the subordinate clause is introduced by then it can be in any tense depending upon the context. Suppose the subordinate clause or the dependent clause contains a universal true statement which is considered as universal truth, which does not change. As we have mentioned in our previous classes, universal truth means that is permanent, that cannot be changed. So if they mention such universal true statements in the subordinate clause, then we have to make use of the tense according to the context, according to the situation. Okay. So here Newton claimed that every action has an equal and opposite reaction. It is a scientific truth. We cannot change it. It has been proven. So we cannot change. So we have to use the tense accordingly. So in the first part, Newton claimed. Claimed is a past form. That every action has is the present form. Has an equal and opposite reaction. So here the tense is changed. In both the parts the tense is changed. because the subordinate clause contains the universal true statement. So we can use tense according to the context. Okay, let's see the next one. If the tense in the main clause is in the present, the verb in the subordinate clause can be in any tense depending upon the context. So if the tense in the main clause is present tense, then we can change the form according to the context. Okay, we can change the tense form according to the context. For example, it doesn't matter to her where she will work. So doesn't is a present form and will is a future form, isn't it? Yes. I insist that you finish this chapter now. So insist is in simple present tense and finish is also in simple present tense. So according to the context, we have to change the tenses. Okay, children? So let's look at the exercises. Choose the correct option from the brackets to complete these sentences. Reknakshi cleaned her room before she, is it went to go to sleep? It is went, because cleaned is a past form. Reknakshi cleaned her room. That is a main clause. So in the main clause they have used past tense. So we have told that if the main clause is in the past tense, so we have to use a subordinate clause also in the past tense. So we have to use only went. So I hope you understood how to do the textual exercises. So children, try to do it by yourself, and if you find any difficulty in doing the or in completing the exercises, please check the answer keys that are attached. So I hope you understood what is a clause and the two types of clauses, main clause and subordinate clause, and how is the sequence of tenses in both these clauses. So I hope you understood all this. Okay children, so that's all for today. Let's wind up the session. See you in the next class.